Well, thank you very much, Ambassador. Since we are good friends, I can tell you your speech was a marvelous example of the diplomatic training in China.
Thank you.
So let me go straight to the point, and then we have to take questions from the audience. The reality is there's a war in Ukraine.
Yes.
And the Arctic 7 have decided to stop working with the chair country.
Yeah.
You are an observer state. Accepted at the Kiruna meeting, chaired by Carl Bildt, which I often remind him of, and with a vote of John Kerry as well.
I was there.
Yeah, you were there. I know. So, if, and this is hypothetical, I have absolutely no conversation to base this question on, it's just my own thinking. I make it clear. If the Arctic 7, when Norway takes over the chairmanship, will start operating the Arctic Council as a body of 7 countries, will China turn up as an observer state?
I think there is the first actually presentation I heard on 13th. Is that 13th? Was a group of discussion within some lawyers, exactly on this question.
Okay.
Yeah, and the conclusion is that there will be no solution on that question right now.
No.
Yes. So you see, Arctic Council is based on a declaration. It's not a treaty with with a legally binding force. No. So there is no procedure to get anybody out of the council. So I really doubt that whether the presidency could be passed on to anybody, or Norway could take over anything from it, because there is no procedure on that issue. Statement. So I was trained as a lawyer. Sure. So my understanding from the legal mind is that the Arctic Council is still there.
Sure.
We are still the observer.
Sure.
But if an A7 so-called Arctic Council is come to the reality, I don't think that is the original one. That will be a different one.
Okay.
Yeah. So and you know, President, sir, you know that Arctic Council is based on the consensus.
No, I know that. I know that.
Everybody knows that.
Yes.
So.
Let me stop you there. But thank you very much for this answer. I mean, it was pretty clear.
Yes.
And I think actually big news.
We have to work on that, on this question further.
So I will follow it up with this question. So on the basis of your answer, it is therefore clear that China will not have a scenario where, on the one hand, you cooperate with the Arctic 7, but you also continue your cooperation with Russia in the Arctic. So you will cooperate with both arms of the so-called Arctic Council.
Yeah, I think so. So when there is an opportunity to work together, we will do it.
Okay.
We'll go ahead with that.
Either
the A7 or Russia or anybody.
Okay, so while I don't see any hands up in the air. Yes, there's one there in the back, yes.
Hi, my name is Beth. I go to university in Canada. Thank you for the presentation. You say that Chinese shipping companies are exploring shipping routes in the Arctic. No. Have these companies been working with or even consulting Indigenous peoples who rely on this land for water and for their livelihood about these experimental routes?
I don't really know I have to check with those companies.
Okay, there's one here.
Maybe they have consulted,
okay,
or
there's
maybe
one
not.
here in the middle. Can you be quick to bring the microphone here?
I have to ask them. Sorry, maybe next time, next year, I can answer that question.
Hi, my name's Beth, and I'm a student at the University of Cambridge. I'm from Ireland originally. And linked to the question of shipping, given the harm that a huge increase in transpolar shipping can do to the ice shield that is so important in terms of protecting the Arctic and that crucial ecosystem, is it not contradictory to have a stated aim of conservation, but also be exploring these shipping routes that we know can cause so much harm to the Arctic? And surely the greenest way to explore shipping routes, rather than taking advantage of the ice melting, is to let the ice heal itself.
Actually, can I understand your question as that you don't want the shipping happen in the Arctic waters? Is that what you said?
I think it's more expressing concern around the idea of, particularly as the ice is melting, using this as an opportunity to explore shipping routes, rather than focusing our efforts on A, stopping the ice from melting, and B, moving away from a rhetoric that seeks to explore these routes, and instead keeping that focus on keeping that ice there, rather than trying to get shipping routes through it as the ice melts.
I will try to answer that question. I'm not quite sure if I understand the question correctly. I think the shipping activities is a result of the melting of ice. And there is some scientific research about whether the shipping could increase the pollution of the water, sea water. That is possible. And I think all the IMO regulations about vessel navigation and so on will apply to the Arctic sea area. So I mean, we are a party.
There, I think.
We are a member of the IMO. We will implement all these rules, including in the Arctic waters. Is that can help you?
Okay, let's take. Yes, there's a question there.
Hey, David from Alaska. Does the Chinese military have a role in the Arctic?
In theory, yes. Because we are 5 permanent members, one of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. If there is a task, authorized us to go there, and there is a task for us to implement, we can go there. That is in theory. So far, there is no UN authorization for us to do that. Then we don't go. You can see that we don't have a single soldier in the Arctic region.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Remember that. Yeah. Don't believe the rumors.
Okay. The final question here.
You can easily check out whether we have any soldier in the Arctic.
Thank you. My name's Rocky Weitz. I'm Director of Maritime Studies at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts. I wanted to ask about the Central Arctic Ocean Treaty, switching topics.
Yes.
And it expires, and it has a 16-year term. I'd love to hear your thoughts about extending it further, because I think that would be very good for the fish in the Arctic. Thank you.
Can I add to that question? Did I understand you correctly that you were saying that in Korea there will be a conference of the parties to the Central Arctic Ocean Treaty in March? No, when?
No, next month.
Next month.
The first COP of the parties.
Yeah, next month.
Yeah, next month.
And is it clear that all the parties to the treaty will actually turn up?
I think so, yes. So that's one evidence that, the multilateral diplomacy with Russia included is still going on.
So you mean you the US, the Russians, the European Union,
Yes.
and us, Norwegians, and others, will sit at the table in Korea and talk about the future of the Central Arctic Ocean next month?
Yeah, perfectly correct.
Okay, that's news. Okay, so the question, sorry, that he put, yes.
Sorry? Yes, yes.
Yeah, extending it.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the 16 years is now the very substantive provision of the treaty. All right? So if you want different years, you've got to negotiate again. So maybe in the future, the treaty will be amended, and then we will have different provisions.
I will add Peter Seligman.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually have two questions, and you can pick whichever one you'd like to answer. The first relates to China's increased use of coal in the last few years. There's been a dramatic increase in coal, although coal is only 56% of the energy that China uses. It used to be 70%. The actual volume has increased probably due to kind of economic realities. How are you going to actually attain the targets when you're increasing coal consumption? That's question number one.
Yeah.
Question number two is, part of the conversation here has been about a place called the Third Pole. And the Third Pole, as you know, is another area of great ice and glacier. It's a big region which affects about 2.5 billion people, 25% of the people on this planet. And so my question is, you said earlier that you really were focused, you supported the idea of all nations coming together to address the challenge in the Arctic.
Yeah.
My question really is a geopolitical question, and it's not meant in any way antagonistically, but it's meant, is China ready to come together with all the other nations that are involved in the Third Pole, where there are stressed relations, in order to address the impending challenges to that large population that are coming from the melting of glaciers and changes in the landscape there?
All right,
Okay, that
so-
will be the final question. Yeah.
Huh?
That will be the final question.
Okay, okay. So I would like to answer both of them. The coal. I think China's consumption, total amount, is reducing very quickly. But because of that rapid reduction, there was a very bad shortage of energy supply. So it going back again, I don't know how big the coming back. Very big, huh? Okay, yeah, I can check with my scientists on the climate change myself after I come back home. But I'm quite sure that our goal for 2030 is serious, and with a lot of political, determination behind it. So you can be sure about the goal, and also there is a very good hope that the goal could be reached beforehand. Maybe you know that could be reached before 2030. And there are a lot of data supporting that prediction, actually. So I think there is no need to worry. Second, the Third Pole. Actually, Third Pole is the initial idea comes from some of the Chinese scientists, if you like, to dig deeper into that. And that's my heard. I heard at home that actually a lot of money has been collected for that scientific research program. So if you like to join us, come to China and then to work with the science that already started, actually. A lot of work have already been done. What we need perhaps is just a concrete form of all the work, to put them all together into a Third Pole or scientific program. And that, if that is a successful exercise, that is going to be a huge international scientific research program. I hope what they are doing will lead to that result, but it is not quite sure because there are other considerations. Want to use the money, in a different way. But you could be assured that we are really working on that already several decades.
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador, and we are honored that your first trip out of China in 3 years was to this assembly. We hope you can start traveling freely from now on.
Yeah.
And we will move from this session to the newly established Helsinki Security Forum.
Okay.
It will be fascinating to learn what went on there and where it is heading. And if I may issue kind of a directive for the future cooperation, if the Helsinki Security Forum continues to meet usually in the autumn, we would be honored to have a report on its proceeding at the assemblies here for this entire Arctic community. So thank you very much, and I invite the Helsinki Security Forum on the stage.
Yeah, thank you,
my friend.
Thank you.